All right. Hello and welcome, everybody. Here we are again at Neogen Esports. You're looking at week 3 of the Titan Vanquisher League coming at you tonight. Our boys Neogen Xenos are taking on Sin 15 tonight in this match. I think we're going to have a real banger here. My name is Poppy, and I'm joined on the desk tonight by my friend here, Manatee. How you doing tonight, my man?
Yeah, I'm doing good, Poppy. Neogen right now, 1-1. I didn't catch their last game, but I'm really excited to see what they're capable of this time around.
Yeah, it was a banger of a series last week here. We saw Neogen really just fighting hard in that match. Game 1 was so close, but they barely slipped up and lost that one. Game 2 absolutely stomped Monkey's Doom, but game 3 Monkeys came back and put the hurt on Neogen. And now they're sitting in this season here with a record of 1-1, one win, one loss to start it off here. I think this is a really important game. Most of the teams in their bracket are in this exact same position. There's actually only a couple teams that are in a better spot. Monkey's Doom is 2-0, and Umbrella, who we scrimmed against a couple weeks back, is 0-2 in the bracket. But everybody else is sitting at this 1-1 uh, in their rankings. So this is really going to be a pivotal match here. But Manatee, let's go ahead and get right into it. It looks like draft is already kicked off here. Run us through these bands real quick.
Yeah, we see the respect band coming out from Sin. That's a classic one. Um, Really funny that we're seeing a lot of more Ziggs bands and even Ziggs play throughout, the LTA. Haven't been seeing a lot of success with Ziggs, so he's not as strong as he used to be, but the respect band coming nonetheless. We've seen Packy, what he can do with Ziggs. Whether it be neutralizing the matchup or just taking over the game, it's not something you just want to disrespect and give him. Senna, Vi, pretty standard stuff. The Vi band does make me think that they are going to go with a more immobile ADC, and with just that, with the VARs, a really strong first pick coming out from Sin.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. So, I mean, this is, Varus is also just such a prio pick, I feel like, for Neogen. When a lot of these target bans, especially in these first rounds of the games, do end up hitting Packy in the bot lane, they always usually can fall back on this Varus as a pretty safe pick that they can early rotate. So, it looks like Sin's trying to get that off the board quick.
yeah, and I guess really interesting bands coming out from Neogen. Um, the Lucian band is something to be expected. Lucian's pretty strong with a good support combo, although I don't know about banning it so early into the Fearless draft. It kind of limits your options as an AD um, pretty early on with the Senna ban and the Varus picked up. So Misfortune trying to answer the Varus pickup, but um, I always think that Misfortune is kind of like this bait champion. It has this potential to be absolutely game winning and game changing, but the amount of times it actually happens in game is far and few. So I'm really really interested to see if Packy Sacks can really elevate that Misfortune play and show us what he's capable of with the Misfortune.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the misfortune is just a bit niche sometimes. You rely very heavily on an ultimate to really sway the team fight. And now you see, it looks like Sin is deciding to probably lock in this Rel, take it off the map. Don't allow that great combo on the ultimates from Misfortune Rel. A really nice duo. Unfortunate that Neo does not get to pick that one up here.
Yeah, definitely a good takeaway from Neogen from Sin, of course. Taking up the Rel, as we know, a classic Rel Misfortune combo can absolutely win you the game, but that's going to be taken away from Neogen. But we do see Talia being picked up. So Talia is really strong in the middle right now, and I'm just a little bit curious how Vusa has been performing on it. I'm trying to recall some of the games, but nonetheless, whether Vusa has been performing on this champion or not is kind of irrelevant. Talia is pretty broken right now. So into Oriana may be a little bit harder, but at the end of the day, Talia is absolutely a monster right now.
Yeah, in the games I've seen, Vuso has really piloted the Talia quite well, especially out of lane. He's gotten a lot of kills, great engages, and follow up on the pick for with the Talia wall. So I've seen him make a lot of really good plays and really solid mechanics too, kiting around, using that unraveled earth and those shoves to great effect in a lot of his games. I think one thing that I've been noticing from Vuso lately, and this might sound like a little bit of flame mana, but the laning phases have been leaving a little bit something to desire. Vuso, who's been usually very, very strong throughout the game, I feel like in the past couple weeks, in the scrims and in last week's official match, he's struggled a little bit against some of his lane opponents.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm no Vuso hater, of course. I'm rooting for my boy Vuso, but it's really easy to be critical of a mid lane player when me myself, I'm a mid lane player, right? So seeing Vuso kind of be down CS, kind of making these random roams and going to these random plays in an attempt to, save his team is usually not the road you want to be going in this sort of 5v5 competitive setting. In solo queue, you can make that coin flip and maybe, come out on top. But definitely in a 5v5 competitive setting, you need to kind of slow it down a bit and let your team bleed out, play for yourself, and then look and play with your team afterwards.
Mhm.
There's no need to be, trying to be the hero in a sense, right? There's no need for that in 5v5.
Yeah, I agree with you. And we are seeing here Neo does pick up the Alistar on the last pick here. A nice nullifier to the Rel engage. I like this pickup on the side of Band. And we've seen him pilot the Alistar before to great effect, in my opinion. And then also, the last round of bans are coming out. Sin 15 takes Rumble away from the hands of Cuddle in the top lane. And they're about to pick here their last ban. And it does look like, again, it's going to be a target ban onto Cuddle. The Urgot is going to be off the table, but Neogen answers with the Fiddlesticks and Bessa.
Yeah, it seems like a little bit of targeted bans coming from Neogen. This on the side of 15, I'm not really sure if these are just their mains or they're really proficient with these champions. Because you really don't see like Echo or Rise or even Fiddlesticks being banned all too often. So maybe just a lot of respect showing from the side of Neogen, which is cool. And I have to agree with you, Poppy. Band director on Alistar is really fun to watch. Kind of reminds me of Busio sometimes. Watching Busio on Alistar is pretty fun to watch. He's always in there, kind of doing these wacky shenanigans, and I think band director is just as wacky. Um, so Alistar is definitely one of those fun champions you just want to see run around the rift and just stampede on people.
Yeah, no, I mean that's high praise too. Busio being in the same vein as Band, I think Band's got to be feeling pretty dang good out there right now on that Alistar. And we are seeing here some more picks are coming through. Profit on that signature J4 pick always shows up really strong, and this is a really nice combo right here. Alistar J4 Misfortune. That is a lot of CC, and that's a lot of Wombo combo coming in. I really like what they've got going on here for this really big Wombo team fight. But you are seeing Sin 15 here. They do pick up the Gwen. It looks like there'll be a Gwen jungle here and a Cassante in the top lane.
Yeah, really nice synergy on the side of Neogen in terms of what their champions want to do. So far, Neogen just look like to get this wombo combo sort of team fight going on. I think something to round out this comp. Neogen might want to try out, even a cannon. I think would be really good here, just to round out some more damage and potentially a counter pick into Cassante. The front line would be a little bit lacking, but you still have to Alistar and the J4 to kind of soak up that damage. But we might see a Trundle being picked up here. Um, I don't necessarily agree with it because it kind of goes against what Neogen want to do, right? They're trying to set up this misfortune to really take over the team fights with her ulti with the J4, Alistar, Talia, right? Just frontlining and providing a lot of distance and a lot of combo potential. But Trundle just kind of puts his pillar and then maybe it combos well with the misfortune, but you know, it seems like Cuddle's going to take the game into his own hands and just absolutely try to split push. Just a little bit of a different style than what Neogen drafted for, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think it really looks like they're just going to be trying to play a 1-4 comp here, right? They're going to let the jungle and the mid and bot side of the map here link together and look for these fights while the Trundle becomes this split push monster on the other side of the map and hopefully is able to always beat out this Cassante and force a 2v1 and draw that pressure so that the rest of Neo is able to use their really, really strong team fight comp to great lengths in that 4v4 or 4v3. We'll see how they have to pilot it. I think this is a Neogen comp through and through, though. It would have either been a heavy engage top laner for Cuddle, or it's going to be something like this who's super strong on the split push.
Yeah, I have to agree. Playing on the split push and it's certainly one of Neogen's play styles. I do want to mention on the side of Sin, we talk about Neogen's wombo combo potential, but Sin has it's nothing to scuff at either, right? Oriana into a Rel combo is just enough to completely delete Talia and I mean even J4 at this point. Um, so the pick potential from Sin is a lot higher, and I think their 5v5 is going to be a lot stronger, but the split push advantage does go to Neogen if Trundle is able to get ahead of this Cassante, which I would assume he does. But we'll just have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think, man? In looking at these two teams, what is going to be the lane to focus on this game? Where's that priority going to come from?
I think it has to be the top lane this game. The bot lane matchup is looking a little bit rough. Misfortune Navaris is just not something that Misfortune really does well with. So there's not really going to be a lot of opportunities to play from bot side. So it's really up to Neogen to kind of really put all their coins into this Trundle. And by the time, a 5v5 team fight does break out, I'm really expecting to see Cuddle just at their Nexus door and, you know, just knocking at their door basically.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with you. I think we always tend to see quite a bit of spicy fighting going on towards the top side of the map in these games. Profit definitely favors taking top side ganks, trying to help Cuddle get ahead, trying to help put that pressure there and to really just decimate the enemy top lane. I mean, we've seen time and time again when Cuddle gets a big lead, he is able to transition it and be that carry threat. But with that being said, you cannot count out the rest of Neogen. Paxax and Vuso are incredibly strong when they get ahead as well and can easily take a game also. So I think right now, I mean, I agree with you. The top lane is definitely something we need to look for, but I'm wanting to see Packy's positioning on this misfortune in these team fights and just letting a freaking crazy bullet time rain. I think that would look amazing.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really looking for some explosive coordinated team fights on the side of Neogen. I mean, they kind of have to if they're wanting to do this 1v4 team comp. In terms of piloting, Poppy, which one do you think is do you prefer team comp wise? Like if you had to pilot any of these comps?
Well, I want to say that honestly, the easier comp here to pilot is Neogen. I think that their four stack is easier to pull off. The J4 with the automatic lockdown on his Cataclysm, you just press R on Misfortune and let it rain. Alistar combo, you can mess it up, but it's not the hardest thing in the world. Talia, pretty easy overall, right? I think Sin is going to have a harder time to pilot this comp because they have to find a good way in without getting stymied by the counter CC on Neogen, the Alistar headbutts, the Talia unraveled earths and shoves. I think it has a much easier chance to peel and disengage, where Sin is going to have to really try to find creative angles to make their engage happen.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, on the side of Neogen, I know they really like to play this split push style, but one of the faults of Kotobon is that he is very quick to TP to his team in case something's going wrong. And I think for this game, he needs to kind of let go of that mentality. And if you see an opportunity to just full send their base, you just need to. Um, there's just no reason to be 5v5ing with this team comp from Neogen. Now, with the Trundle, of course, is what I'm trying to say. Obviously, the Misfortune, J4, Talia, Alistar, those four can pretty much just win a 5v4 if they get their combos right. So what does Trundle do? He kind of just wants to bite your turret, like that should be his game plan. I don't think what I want to see from Neogen is the Trundle not grouping as much as you think he should.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you hit it the nail on the head right there. It's definitely something that we have seen as a fault of Neogens, right? They tend to pull their team. Everybody comes to the rescue of one another. While it shows great camaraderie and teamwork, it sometimes gives up pressure around the map and allows for teams to either find a footing back or to extend a lead that they may have already had. So I agree with you. I think Trundle needs to play more selfishly this game. Cuddle needs to really look to prioritize getting every creep, every plate, every push he can on the other side of the map and isolating this Cassante to just landlock him in the 1v1 instead of trying to group and fight with the rest of Neogen. And to further that point too, I think Vuso in the early game needs to do the same thing. I think once you start getting towards that mid game and you start rotating and getting more control through the jungle, that's when Vuso can start linking up with the J4 and with the Alistar after he's pushed waves. But early on, this first 15 minutes, I kind of want to see Vuso play for his lane a little more and not give up too much for this Oriana.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough one for Vuso. It's not an easy matchup by any means, but it's nothing that he can't handle. Um, or at least Talia can't handle. So I expect good things from Vuso this series. If he can stick to his laning and not sacrifice so much for his team, I think he can absolutely be a carry threat on the side of Neogen.
I agree. And, I've got to ask, Mana, which team and specifically which player do you think is going to be getting the Iron Medal of Failure in this game one?
Man, it's nothing. I was praising Ban, but just the nature of Alistar, it's just to go in and kind of just die if you're not careful with it, right? Especially if you go in without your ulti unbreakable will, you're probably just gonna be, a cooked burger, Um, but J4, I think, Prophet, it's just like on the side of Neogen, they have the potential to absolutely just keep running it down and force fights over and over and just feed Sin, right? So I just want to be on the side of caution with Neogen, right? Your comp is easier to pilot, right? You could just EQR anyone on the side of Sin and chop him up for a very long time, but that doesn't mean you should, right? Like you should
Hmm.
really consider if this is the right opportunity, if you have the vision, what are their summoners, really coordinate, really have good coordination with your team before making those sort of decisions.
Yeah, I agree with you. And as you see here, the screen has went black, and that only means one thing, folks. We are going to be getting into game here in just a couple of seconds. In this week 3 of Titan Esports, Neogen Xenos has taken on Syndicate 15. That's what the SYN stands for. Syndicate 15 here. I think we're in for a banger of a match, Manatee. Um, yeah, I mean, this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really interested to see the top lane matchup. Cuddle a force to be reckoned with when he gets ahead. A on his classic split push threat, something that he's known to do, and you know, has a little bit of success here and there. I think his style is not so refined. He's kind of been like pulled away from like this full split push style versus the whole TP and help your team sort of style. So I really want to see Cuddle full send into one of those styles. Definitely the split push one because you're not really supposed to be team fighting as a top lane Trundle. Um, it's just not going to be as effective, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you here. Now let's take a second here to look into the chat while we're waiting on this game to load up. It looks like we got a good bit of folks in here tonight. Hello, everybody. Hot Muffins, Caster in here. Let's go, Neo. Get after it, boys. We've got it. Got hooked on Flays in here, giving some good advice on. Ain't gonna lie, I think this mid-game Ori getting the Avengers summon on her over and over. Probably so. And yeah, oh, it looks like we are in game here. Mana, it is just the beginning here. Everybody's posturing on the map, going for a bit of a 5-point easy
30
start.
seconds until
Nothing
minions
crazy.
spawn.
Yeah, looks like both teams respecting each other. No crazy shenanigans. We have a little bit of maybe Vuso, maybe taking some auto attacks here potentially from Oriana, but or maybe Gwen is in danger. Got that cheeky E from Prophet, but so far pretty standard early game. Really early game, I guess, but yeah, nothing crazy happening.
Yeah, he dropped the flag. That's big points to Neogen
Minions
right
have
there. You saw
spawned.
that chunk. It was gigantic. I'm pretty sure that was at least, what, 60 magic damage or something like that? Pretty crazy.
Yeah, he's Prophet's already on the top of the damage charts, proving that he plays his Jarvan only to do damage. So I expect a fully Thoughty build from Prophet this time around. Um, but yeah, in all seriousness, this is going to be a pretty interesting one. The bot lane matchup is something we talked about, Poppy, and it's potentially the lose con for Neogen. Has nothing to do with the players, of course, but just the matchup is really rough for Misfortune Alistar. As we see, like they're already getting poked out.
Yeah, Varus, an incredibly strong laner, right? Causes a lot of problems and heavily seen in the meta across pretty much all regions right now. Varus is a priority pick, and one that I definitely think Syndicate was very happy getting here. So this is definitely going to be an interesting lane. It does look like Hack is able to get a little bit of traded damage back onto them there, but still, it's going to be hard to keep up with the poke from this Varus.
Yeah, we're about to see a level 2 engage potentially. Respecting it right now. Okay, yeah. So no crazy level 2 deaths going on. Good respect from the side of Neogen. But man, that Varus is already putting a lot of damage. But we'll see how Neogen and Pachysack specifically can deal with that pressure of the bars. It may be a rough matchup, and you may be expected to go down at least maybe 10, 15 CS, but that's okay. You're playing for team fighting, 5v5 potential. So just as long as you're not getting so far behind, that your win con here should still prevail.
And taking a look at jungle pathing here to begin the game off, it does look like the junglers have opted to start on opposite sides of the map. So Gwen has pathed her way towards her blue and is going to have a prio onto the top side of the map, while J4 looking for something cheeky maybe down towards the bot lane, starting on those raptors and working down to his blue buff on the bot side.
Yeah, maybe a little bit unlucky timing on the side of Neogen. We do see that by the time Prophet finishes his camp, that this lane, this mini wave and the bot lane wave is going to be pushed into them. So potentially Prophet can turn that around when the wave starts bouncing back to Neogen. But as of right now, it's a little bit too early for Prophet to do much of anything.
Yeah, I agree. It does look like there is going to be a bit of an engage here. They get the stun off on the rail onto Misfortune. Misfortune drops down the bullet rain. It is a stun coming back over from Van to lock up this rail. Packy trying to find the damage onto her to get the kill, but just ends up pushing her under tower. But now look at this. Prophet is here, lying in wait. There could be a potential dive here, Manatee.
Yeah, we see Gwen on the other side of the map trying to make her way down here as fast as possible. Really smart trading from Neogen, trying to force this play out. Oh, a little bit botch execution on the play. Prophet with the flash, getting the first blood.
Yeah, it looks like he got the first blood, but is he going to make it out? And no, he will not. That tower does seal his fate. It goes over to the side of Rel, but it is a 1-for-1 at the end of the day. Varus ends up losing a little bit extra onto that play. Not a terrible dive, but definitely not the perfect execution.
For sure, this is one of those things where, we know that the enemy bot lane kind of has their flashes up, right? So maybe a little bit too early on the EQ. Perhaps maybe Ian Prophet would have tried predicting the EQ with his flash of his own. Just small things to make things a little bit easier and a lot cleaner. But nonetheless, that's first blood heading over to Neogen, and not much else really going on.
Yeah, and one thing in the pre-game chat here when hanging out in the Discord, they were talking about how aggressive this enemy team is. I think we might see some pretty bloody games tonight. From what I've heard, Syndicate will just send it over and over and over when they start getting into these fights, and it just gets quite chaotic. So I'm interested to see how that playstyle ends up going for them. But we are seeing a bit of a gank here. A nice pullback from Buso to catch the Orianna and flip her in, but she hits level 6 right at the perfect moment, and they don't want to commit any further to that.
Yeah, that could have been really dangerous. If Orianna played a little bit more towards her vision, she could have absolutely outplayed Vuso with her level 6 timing there, but a little bit of a blunder on that. And as we take a look at the overall state of the game, everything's somewhat even so far. There are small CS leads amounting for the side of Syndicate, but nothing too crazy. Maybe just like one or like around 5 or 4 CS. It's nothing too crazy.
Yeah, only a couple hundred gold in total. Really negligible at this point. But now they are looking for an engage onto this Rel again. She's trying to run towards the back of that Dragon Pit. She's just going to vault right over. Doesn't look like Neo's going to really be able to find a pick there. J4 is in this bot side of the map here, just trying to find anything he can to get his bot lane ahead.
Yeah, we mentioned before that this could be a pretty rough matchup for the Misfortune, as we see why that's the case. Just 3 autos from Navarus and a Q, and you're pretty much, you can say goodbye to your health bar. Buso's down here for the assist, though. This is looking pretty good for the side of Neogen.
Yeah, nice pickup there from Paxax. Buso with a great Weaver's Wall finding his way to the bot lane, and they do find the kill. But it does look like Syndicate doesn't want to give up this dragon easily. There is another fight taking place. The Gwen, she's one untargetable, trying to find the damage onto the Alistar. Big suck in there from the Orianna, and it does find 2 of the members of Neogen down. Varus picking up a kill as well on the back end there, but it's really interested in taking Cuttlebun in this fight against the Cassante. Let's see what happens here. Looks like just a little bit of trading and nothing more will take place, but oh, an unfortunate scrap into the bot side.
Yeah, I guess really well played from the side of the Orianna. Maybe this Cassante is potentially dead? Oh,
Ooh, good flash by Cuttlebun to get away from that one. That was on a knife's edge and is very scary. Cuttle's not in a good position right here. Cassante does find the kill onto Cuttle, but he will die for that, giving one back over. But I think that it's going to end up being a net positive for the Cassante. That wave did bounce and is now coming back the other way.
hey, I mean, you said it, Poppy. This is a team that loves to scrap it out. And Neogen is no stranger to scrapping it out either, right? I always love to mention how when I was playing for Neogen way back in the day during the Arctic Wolves days, my favorite play style with them was the full-on 5v5 team fight, all this skirmishing, every single one of them, right? And, I would say that we were somewhat good enough to pull it out on some occasions. And we're going to have to see if they can really, at the higher levels of this league, right? Syndicate being 2-0, is that right?
I think Syndicate's 1-1 as well, man.
Oh, okay. So, hey, if both teams want to scrap it out, I think, Neogen's not afraid to punch back.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we've talked about it a lot, but here we go. Cataclysm right onto the Orianna in the mid lane. They do find a lot of lockdown CC. Vuso hitting her with those rocks, but it does end up being Prophet taking the kill credit there. A nice roam from Neogen to find that damage, and now they want to transition this to look over towards those grubs. But Cuttle finding himself into a big fight in the top lane. It does, oh, what a miss by that Varus on the hail of arrows. Cuttle finds himself alive, but they don't want to let him get away. Gwen trying to find some damage with her ultimate. She's firing the needlework off, but she does not find any kills. A kill over to Vuso onto the Gwen. Now it is just looking like a really rough spot for Syndicate to try to get in on this fight. Vuso does not want to allow the Rel to get any kind of combo into this pit, but Neogen's going to be really happy with that engagement.
Yeah, but we got to see Orianna on her way back. Still has the ulti. Potentially Neogen probably takes this on cooldown because she used it before she died, but it didn't go on cooldown. So we're going to see if Syndicate really want to fight this. Looks like they're still posturing aggressively towards this.
Yeah, they are.
Is there maybe? Okay, nothing's going to come out of it.
Yeah, watch that ball position, everybody. She's playing with those things, and you got to be careful when Orianna gets her hands on the ball. It sounds a little scary, but we're just going to move past that part. A little tense there when the Orianna shows up for sure, but Neogen does claim the Void Grubs. Looking quite good, but Paxax, a nice flash over by Packy, did not get stunned up by that Cassante and pulled back. That was a really good use of flash under tower there.
Yeah, and now we're going to potentially see Cassante going down. Now the Neogen sending their full 3 members to try to cover Packy Sacks here. I think this is a dead Cassante for sure. Let's see if Syndicate can probably trade Cuttle for it. They're sending the same thing for their top laner. So he's going to go down. Trundle, no flash here. Varus potentially going to go down here, maybe?
Yeah, the Trundle is just gaining a lot of health back off the side of that ultimate, being able to suck up the resistances and healing, but Cuttle does end up falling on the top side. It looked a little messy, though, from the side of Syndicate. I thought somebody was going to go down to tower shots.
Yeah, that was really messy. And we see potentially Gwen even fall down here.
Yeah, Vuso trying to find the damage onto that Gwen, but they're eating up a couple tower shots as well. Vuso does end up finding the last hit on those rocks to put down the Gwen, and there's just kills being traded all over the map right now, Mana.
Yeah, Syndicate really limit testing what the champions can do. Now, I would have said that, you know, Gwen potentially could have just killed both Prophet and Vuso, because the Gwen had her ulti, but just died before she could use it. So really scary stuff. The on the side of Syndicate, some of these plays that they're making are, you know, just so close to being good for them, but they're just playing at the knife's edge a little bit too much.
Yeah, and
And
you're
we
about to
see
see another
Varus
fight
being
take
caught out.
place here. Yeah, Varus does get caught by Bam, but doesn't look like they want to really take any more on that. He didn't quite have the follow-up to really find the fight, and they are able to walk that down.
Yeah, pretty scrappy stuff so far, Poppy. You know, you said it yourself once again, scrappy team. But we also mentioned that their execution when it comes to Syndicate, not so great, as we see potentially another botch play coming from Syndicate.
Yeah, hold on to that thought there. Ban hops back to Varus into the rest of the team. That's going to be an easy pickup by Cuddlebuns. Weaver's Wall does get used as well there. Everybody on the side of Neogen shows up other than Packy in that fight, and they again turn a pick on the backside of that.
Yeah, Varus not where he wants to be at. You know, if you are an ADC and you breathe the wrong way, you will get the whole team called upon you, and that's exactly what happened.
But it's not over. Ban finds a nice engage onto Rel, but that is a good shockwave from Orianna. Finds two. It does dissuade any further pressure there. It almost looked like another pick from Neogen, but Cuddleban might find the Cassante proxying behind the wave. It looks like he's just going to go ahead and let him go and not lose too many minions there on that tower.
Yeah, you know, on the side of Neogen, they are keeping up and retaliating with their own aggression, and it's been pretty good for them in terms of capitalizing on the kills and the mistakes that Syndicate's making. But the gold lead is not that far off, and you cannot be getting cocky.
Yeah, not at all. Only 1.4K right now. I think it's really going to come down to some of this objective stacking. Right now, Syndicate has the priority onto this dragon, and it doesn't look like Neogen wants to let this happen. Neo pulling down their 4 members as well, but this is where we are talking. Cuddle needs to just take this tower. You might need to concede this dragon and let this big old scary troll find some plates, find some minions.
Yeah, definitely. You do not want to leave Trundle alone with a tower for too long. You blink and then it's just gone. That's just some troll stuff right there. But Uso potentially maybe getting caught out here, having to blow flash. And the good counter engage from Neogen, you know, just punishing the aggression coming from Syndicate. You know, just overplayed their hand way too much there.
Yeah, Oprah said, you can have a kill, and you can have a kill, just giving over her whole team on the missed engage there. And the Varus, did you see those chains? They went a little bit wide.
Yeah, not sure. You know, even with Varus, you know, the lore of Varus is that he's pretty much like 2 people, or yeah, 2 people mixed in one. Even with that, doesn't have the greatest of eyesight. As we see a little bit of scrapping from Sante, and potentially maybe Packy Attack going down here to the Gwen.
Yeah, Packy's fighting right now, but I don't know if he can get out of this one, Mana.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe it looked a little bit close. This Gwen is really weak, has no items, but the Gwen is still Gwen, and she will just cut you up.
Yep, and now you're seeing a dive coming out towards the top side. Cuddle pops his ultimate onto the Xante, gets a lot of those resistances and healing back. That's a ramped up tower here. Will Cuddle be able to live this one out? Prophet and Gang are here to find the counter gank, and it does work. They do find the Rel on the backside of that, but now Batman has to get out of here. The bat signal is being raised, and they said, hey man, we need your help. Get out from those double towers, but I don't think he's going anywhere. That's going to be another kill for Prophet, who's now on a killing spree. Looking really nice for Neogen.
Yeah, you know, another botch dive coming from Syndicate. You know, that was the name of the game going into this for this team, and we're really seeing it. It's just really lots of aggression and really nonsense tower diving coming from the side of the Syndicate. You know, there's really no need to play all that aggressive. You know, shutting down the Trundle doesn't really do much for you because it's Trundle. As we see Vuso potentially playing his... okay, that was a little bit strange. That was a little bit weird.
Uso just given over a free kill there, was not going to be able to stop that tower take, and he ends up sacrificing his life on the back end of that as well. Don't think it was worth, but thankfully, on the other side of the map, Neo is able to answer by taking that Rift Herald and getting top tier 1 tower.
Yeah, a little bit of a misplay from Buso was trying to use the Weaver's Wall to potentially escape, but your Weaver's Wall does not work if you're CC'd. But nonetheless, nothing too crazy. Mental reset. Don't let it happen again, otherwise you're going to be looking real bad. But overall, Neogen with a pretty comfy gold lead. Syndicate, with all credit due, at some point, some teams would have just been really uh, snowballing at this point. Neogen, for example, would have been really snowballing this lead by now. But Syndicate has done a really good job trying to look for other players around the map and trying to just make anything work. And for the most part, it's been working out for them.
Yeah, they're definitely holding on here. Neogen Esports, though, still has a nice little lead in the tempo, but count that out here. We might have a bit of an engage come towards the top side. Buso is being engaged on by the Gwen, who's finding a lot of damage down on those snips. Ends up taking Buso down there again. Buso picked the second time in the row. He's losing a lot of pressure on the map and falling pretty far behind.
Yeah, I mean that's the second time just caught out. When you're playing Talia with your jungler not hovering you have to kind of realize that you are a very vulnerable mid laner. You don't have the mobility of a Azir, and you don't have the peel potential of like someone like a Syndra, for example. So you really have to take in consideration the threats that can really take you out.
And we saw Neo also just fires off the Herald there with absolutely zero effect in the mid lane. A rough set of plays coming around the side for Neogen. They're definitely giving Syndicate a chance to come back in this match.
Yeah, on the side of Neogen, they have answered a lot of Syndicate's aggression really, really well. But Syndicate has not let the foot off the gas. They're still going full throttle, Poppy, right? And Neogen absolutely needs to make sure that there's still that brick wall that Syndicate can still run into. It seems like maybe the brick wall of Neogen is cracking just a little bit, but get in there, repair those cracks. This game is not over by any means. Do not get confident.
Yeah, we might see that now taking place. It does look like Neo going aggressive onto this Windrake, third Drake of the game here. And you can see Orianna is stuck in the top lane against his Trundle. A big piece of their damage in CC is not going to be able to make it to this fight, so Neogen ends up getting a free dragon here. But what is the move going to be? Syndicate is pushing down the mid lane. They do end up taking that tier 1, and it looks like Batman wants more. Prophet trying to find a little damage, going in aggressive onto the bars. Cataclysm on the backside. Huge shove coming out from Buso, but he gets stopped on the back end. Paxax's ult was interrupted. No bullet time comes out in this fight, and it's just an all-out brawl. Paxax firing, getting some damage in on the backside, but this Gwen is charged up, and she's finding a lot of damage. Snip, snip, snip. The rest of Neogen is getting cut like thread, and this Buso is the last one standing. This Gwen is going crazy right now, Mana, and this could be a quadra kill. Ends up going over to the Ori, but an awful, awful fight for Neogen, and they find themselves now reeling from that.
Yeah, that was really insane. At first, the play looked really well for Neogen, going on to the Varus, blowing his flash, and an easy pickup coming up for Neogen. But as soon as the Misfortune ult was interrupted, things just started falling apart. Misfortune's just picked off, and Buso's just not in a good position to deal damage. Man, that was really well played from the side of Syndicate. This Gwen, out of nowhere, is now popping off.
The Dark Knight Rose there, Manatee. Batman finds the interrupt onto Paxax's bullet time, stopping so much damage from coming out in that team fight. If Packy doesn't get that ultimate off, Neogen just loses so much ability in these fights. It's what we were talking about in the pregame. Misfortune, she's a little bit of a troll champ, right? If you don't get that off, you lose so much pressure and so much ability. And we saw it happen right there.
Yeah, and we see another decisive call coming out from Neogen, deciding to take on with this Otacon. It looks like it's going to be picked up for pretty much nothing on the side of Syndicate. So pretty good pickup from them. But Poppy, I just got to mention, once again, the side of Neogen, they're not really wanting to 4v4 or 4v5, or sorry, I should say 5v5. Cuddlebun and Trundle was there in that fight and absolutely contributed nothing. It would have been much better. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Did I just...
What? What was that?
I don't think I've ever seen that. That is quite something.
Yeah, it looks like they're still going to find an engage here onto the top side on Gwen. They get her picked into the red side jungle, but let's just go back a second here, Mana. Did Vuso's wall just pop that Varus to safety?
Yeah, I didn't know Talia's wall had that large of a knockback range. Really unlucky, I guess, on the side of Neogen, but still ends up big for them. They get the shutdown on the Gwen. Now, Neogen has to realize they're the ones on the backseat. That brick wall that you were in the early game, mid game has fumbled. It's cracked. It's down, right? You need to start building it back up. And how do you do that, right, Poppy? You cannot have this Trundle 5v5. It is absolutely disastrous if you do that, right? The Trundle absolutely needs to be split pushing, and if he's struggling against a Cassante, you know, it's marking the really, I guess, near the end of geez, what am I trying to say here? It's just not a good look for Neogen if Trundle is struggling against this Cassante.
Yeah, and it does look like he is a bit right now. Cuddle barely up in terms of minions, but he hasn't quite finished that Triforce yet, and I'm not sure. I understand the Hydra tech if you're going to be split pushing and clearing waves as quickly as possible, but look, here he is again. Cuddle trying to find a roam towards the mid lane here, allowing Cassante to push these waves. I would have liked to see Cuddle get a Blade of the Ruined King and then just go all in on this Cassante every single chance he gets in the 1v1.
Yeah, I agree. You know, Cuddle not being able to 1v1 the Cassante, it spells a disaster for Neogen. This Trundle needs to be able to be strong enough to 1v1 anyone in the side lane, and Cuddle not being able to 1v1 the Cassante, your lane opponent, the one that you counterpicked into, is just not a good look.
Not at all, but hopefully he is able to get a little extra gold funneled into him, finish some of these items. He will outscale this Cassante. And once he gets 3 items, I don't think Cassante is going to be able to mess with him too much anymore. Unless, again, 200 years champ here, Cassante might be able to. Who really knows in this current day and age of League? I mean, they just keep busting out these champions that can do it all, so maybe he can.
Absolutely right. You know, we don't see a lot of Cassante being played, but hey, you know, that is still a modern League of Legends champion. So maybe potentially we see Cuddle committing to this turret as I think he should. A good flash from Band Director, and that's a huge cooldown down for the side of Syndicate. So now if Neogen wants to re-engage without the Orianna ult, this would be the opportune time to do so.
As we see, and it looks like they're going to find it.
Yeah, really good pickup.
Yep. Nice pick up there. Paxax does drop the bullet time to find the kill on the Orianna, but Prophet is in the pit now, fighting against the rest of Syndicate here. This Gwen does not want to let Prophet get out for free, but he does flag drag trying to find safety. The rest of Neogen decides to push. Look at Trundle on the top lane. He is now onto the inhib turret, and he just keeps on wailing. All Neogen has to do is just waste as much time as they want. It does look like they are doing a pretty good job at that, but Prophet is going to go down here at the end of this little engagement. Cuddle does end up getting to run this one out, but potentially it looks like the Rel is trying to find the long flank onto the Trundle to stop him from getting away. Now they do end up giving up here, it looks like. Wow. What a play there. That was quite the push from Neogen. I mean, that Trundle was really able to find a lot of pressure in the top side of that map and push down that lane. And honestly, Neogen's probably going to be pretty happy for that. It's only the second Dragon over to Syndicate 15, and they got quite a bit of gold funneled into them there.
Yeah, you know, this is really what we want to see out of the Trundle, you know, like nearly getting that inhibitor tower. And honestly, the Trundle just needs to keep doing this, and looks like Cuddle is going to start to attempt that on the bot tier 2 tower. And the Triforce completed. You know, this Trundle is really much a huge split push threat that Syndicate cannot ignore like that.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I like this. Trundle now moving down to this bot side. You know, where's the objective at, right? It's this Baron, so it's going to naturally pull the team up. But look here, another engagement might be a pick onto this Rel. Prophet and Band find the Rel trying to clear some vision, and they're going to punish that. Paxax finds the kill credit onto that one, and Neo's going to automatically turn their sights onto this Baron. Could it be a Red Bull Baron not sponsored by Red Bull Baron power play coming out here? We might see after this fight. It looks like they're not done. Buso gets engaged on by this Cassante. Batman trying to find some damage. He's going to end up finding the kill onto Buso, but Batman is just absolutely killing the entirety of the bot side of the map here. The backline is getting decimated for Neogen, but Trundle has shown up to this fight. He wants to find the kill onto the Gwen. He does find it, but Cuddle, who probably could have gotten a freaking inhib at this point, it shows up to the fight.
Yeah, I mean, once again, there was an Orianna down there guarding him, but you don't want the Orianna to be there in the first place. Let the Orianna TP, and then you could be hitting the towers by now. But yeah, I mean, Batman really showing his Batman skills, just going into backline, decimating Vuso and Packy Sacks. That is a champion, ladies and gentlemen, and you need to be absolutely careful of him.
Asante, baby. 200 years of Riot expertise put together to create that one. I can't say any more about that, but now Cuddle might be looking for a bit of an engage here. A little bit of an overstep maybe from Syndicate, staying a tad too long, but I think they're going to be able to walk this one out.
I think this is still a really bad play from Syndicate. Tempo-wise, Neogen's out on the map faster, and Varus has to take a recall along with Cassante, who does have TP, so not that bad for the Cassante, but definitely bad for the Varus, as we see maybe Neogen taking advantage of that.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it quite, though. Neo doesn't really press it. This is the time that they should have tried to get that vision control right around the Baron, take a foothold as they're scrambling to recall, let Trundle go to the bot lane, but instead they have to kind of walk back, catch that top wave, and they're playing it a little safe.
Yeah, definitely a little bit weird to have the Alistar catch that top wave. So definitely on the side of, Neogen, this is something that we talked about before, Poppy, right? How Vuso constantly sacrifices himself for the greater of the team. And we're seeing that right now. Down a significant amount of CS compared to his Orianna. And while he does have the assist and the kill participation to back it up, it's still not good to really get yourself behind in this way. Vuso should definitely be at least 1 or 2 levels ahead of the Orianna, but he's consistently falling behind right now.
Yeah, Vuso, he's definitely playing for the greater good, as you said, but at what cost? At what cost, Mana? And we're seeing that cost coming through. I mean, that's like a 50 creep lead on the side of Orianna. She's got a lot more gold funneled into her, and you're seeing she's just moments away from, there it is, finish the death cap right as I was talking. That's going to be a scary pickup for this Ori, finishing that death cap.
Yeah, for sure. And, something I want to talk about, mid lane itemization. It's usually standard for mid laners to go death cap third, and consistently I see Vuso going, a defensive item third. So not usually what you want to do. It's not usually standard. Maybe this Trundle here is potentially maybe dead. Let's see how he plays this one.
Yeah, it does look like Syndicate is going to be able to kind of cut it off, but it looks like there might be a counter engage coming out here. Ban does find this Varus on a nice pick. Vuso and Ban take down the Varus, and they're also going to go ahead and kill the Rel on the back end too. Cuddle still alive here. He does end up falling, but the rest of the cavalry has arrived. Big bullet time over the whole side of him, but that Gwen went immune and took no damage. Now the Gwen trying to find the kills to clean this one up. Batman as well. Very scary. This Cassante is a big problem. You've got to come down, but Batman is going to clean this one up. Double kill for Batman. Vuso trying his best to kite it out. Nice unraveled earth. Vuso finds some big Qs to kill that Orianna. Ban with a re-engage onto Batman. The knockup, the Qs, the knockups, the Qs, another knockup, another Q. He gets stunned up, and look at Vuso go. Shoot those Qs, Vuso. Put Batman into the grave. Who's better? Superman. Vuso is Superman. Let's go, Neo.
Yeah, a really great fight on the side of Neogen there. It looked a little bit dicey with Batman potentially just once again 1v5ing, but Orianna used ult on Cuddle, trying to burst him out and get him out of the fight as quickly as possible, but it ended up being really bad for Orianna not having her ult there to battle Vuso. As we see potentially Vuso getting contested by this Rel here.
These fights, Manatee, are on a knife's edge in this game one. 23-23 kills, 30 minutes in, a 2K gold lead still over for the side of Syndicate. This is anybody's game.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and looks like Cuddlebun TP'd aggressively. Orianna is now here. Cuddlebun potentially going to forfeit his life here. Maybe the side of Neogen is looking to do Baron after this? Or Vuso potentially maybe getting caught out?
Oh no, Vuso does go down. Prophet and Paxax will find the Gwen though. The jungler being down is gigantic though here. It is going to dissuade probably any Baron play coming out from Syndicate. That's a good pickup on the backside for Neogen to stymie any further regression for that objective.
Yeah, this Gwen, I think Poppy has gone the Iron Medal of Failure. 777. He should go to casino right now, win big, bet everything on black. But Yeah, I mean, can you really call it a medal failure, Poppy? I mean, this Gwen has been a menace for Neogen.
Yeah, I mean, if you go straight off statistics, he definitely has earned himself some hardware, but I will say this Gwen's damage has been pivotal in these fights, surviving through bullet times with an incredibly balanced and not broken spell at all by being able to go untargetable multiple times now and then pumping out huge amounts of damage. This Gwen actually is really a gigantic threat on the side of Syndicate, and I can't say enough too about Batman. Batman on Syndicate, he is really showing up. The Dark Knight that we didn't know he was going to be, he has shown up and he is really showing out.
Yeah, Batman absolutely putting on a show for Neogen, and he's grabbing more MR for the side of Vuso, who does not have his death cap. It did take Vuso quite a bit to take down the Cassante. Now has the Zonya's Hourglass. We're gonna see if he can put that to great use. Potentially could be good for the Cassante, but only time will tell.
Yeah, and it does look like Neo's trying to get some control here around the Baron, but they are getting forced off a bit. Syndicate has found a way in. They've got the Banana Bush under control, which is pivotal for having the tempo to control this objective. So now Neogen is playing it a little bit safe, catching the waves as they come up, and it's just going to be a tense moment of who's going to pull the trigger first.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those classic NA ARAM moments. Where we're just going to see a lot of dancing back and forth between this Baron. Both teams really want this Baron. Both teams really want this objective. It's going to make or break this game, Poppy.
I agree with you 100%. I just say, oh, it's scary. You can feel just the tension is in the air. You cut it with a knife right now. At any point, a rail could come flying over the wall, or Band could find a nice engage. And it does look like a lot of damage onto the Alistar. Alistar has to pop ult to try to get out of here and not get picked. Big bullet time from the Misfortunate tried to dissuade it, but it's not going to be enough here. Alistar does fall, and it's a nice unraveled earth there from Vuso to find some damage. It's a pretty low Varus on the side of Syndicate, but they're going to be happy with that pick.
Yeah, lots of cooldowns were blown all for the Alistar. So on the side of Neogen, they're kind of happy with that trade. Not much is going to come from it. A great bullet time from Packy Stacks to kind of delay any sort of momentum that they may have had. But once again, Poppy, we're kind of seeing the strength of the Gwen here. Whenever that Misfortune bullet time does go out, Gwen is immune to bullet time. So there's not really much an ADC player can really do. As we see, maybe a sneaky startup of the Baron coming from the side of Syndicate. Varus is still kind of low, has the red buff ticking for some health regen, but I don't think it's going to be enough.
I don't either. And you are seeing here, teleports are about to come off of cooldown for Orianna, Cassante, and Trundle. I want to see how they play this one out. I really think Cuddle needs to try to draw some pressure to the other side of the map. Find that split push to try to get that tier 2 in the bot lane and pull the Cassante, pull the Orianna away from the rest of their team. They have just not been utilizing this split push threat of the Trundle to its full effect.
Yeah, definitely not. Trundle definitely has that hole breaker now, so he definitely wants to be split pushing, but he needs to be committed to the split push. You brought a hole breaker. You can't be thinking whether or not your team's going to lose this fight. It's whether or not you're going to end the game by knocking at the Nexus door.
I think they're so scared, though. I don't think he has faith that they're going to win the 4v4, and he feels compelled to be there on the side to help out the rest of the team. But like we've said, that's just not the play here. Van finds himself getting caught out again. He does have to pop his ultimate to try to find some safety in those extra resistances. Van is living for quite some time, but this Gwen will chop him up given enough time. Gwen goes untargetable and finds a lot of damage. Now Cuddle is scrapping on the other side with this Cassante. Cuddle pops his ultimate to try to find the shred, but this Cassante is not even worried about him at all, and it's another pick that goes over to the side of Syndicate.
Yeah, and honestly, Cuddle just absolutely dissuaded from split pushing at all with this Cassante. A huge cooldown being forced as we see. Oh, wow.
Oh, this could spell disaster here. Big bullet time does come down, but again, no damage on the backside there because of that untargetable spell, and Batman wants more. He is just going in hard onto the side of Neogen, but they do find a nice Cataclysm, does lock him out, and they are able to keep kiting out. But again, Cuddle does fall. There's Cuddle again in this fight, and he doesn't do a dang thing. Now Vuso trying to find some damage. He is able to find a nice pick onto the Varus. Vuso kiting this out might be their only saving grace.
Yeah, I mean, this Varus has been playing a frontline Varus, if I do say so myself, really being caught out in these weird positions for the Unravel Earth from Vuso. But overall, pretty good stuff on the side of Neogen overall.
Yeah, it ends up working out, but Batman's not finished here. Batman tries to find the pullback onto Packsack. Packy trying to run away and get some distance here so he doesn't die, but that is going to be a lot of damage coming out from that Gwen, but they do find the pick on him. Gwen is down. Batman is going to be the next threat that has to go down, but this Oriana does a lot of damage too. Vuso trying to get enough distance to get away. Nice stun coming out from the back of Band Director, but I don't think it's going to be enough. This Oriana is going to just chase him down. Prophet trying to help out his sad little Talia, who does end up dying to Tango, throwing balls at him, and he does find the kill, but Prophet's not done here. Prophet's trying to find some damage. Band ends up knocking back Batman. Batman goes and engages back onto Band Director, and it is just a fight of tanks, meatballs, bruisers. Not much damage is coming out, but the Varus has came back from his spawn. Prophet gets interrupted on the flag drag. That is just tragic right there. Now Prophet's trying to find his way out of here, but they don't want to let him get away. If they can kill Prophet here, they can secure the objectives. Prophet goes over the side and gets away into the Dragon Pit. A beautiful get out of there. Oh, Band, please. Will Band be able to live too? It looks like he does, but that damage from the Varus Q is insane.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, on a knife's edge this game, Bobby, I'm telling you, right? This Varus is just really choking these crucial moments, missing the ult, missing the Q twice, and then the Q not being able to finish off the Alistar spells disaster for the side of Neogen. But maybe Syndicate can finally get this dragon, as we see, the Varus once again being caught out. You know, once again, just choking on the side of pressure for this Varus.
Big bullet time, but again, Gwen goes immune, doesn't find the damage, but Paxax wants more. He finds blood. The Gwen is down. The Cassante is down. That is just huge picks coming over for the side of Neogen, and now they're going to run straight to Baron to collect this one.
They may have stopped the soul, but they may have just lost the game, or potentially the game is going to be blown wide open with this Baron take on the side of Neogen.
Yeah, 40-second death timers for Cassante and Gwen, 20 seconds onto the Varus. This is definitely going to be a lot of time down, and that Baron is not going to last long here. Now we need to see what Neogen does to try to maximize on this Red Bull Baron, not sponsored by Red Bull Baron Power Play.
Yeah, I mean, this Baron power play is going to be massive for Neogen, or at least it has to be. You know, this game has gone on for 38 minutes. Both teams have late game threat. This Oriana is a absolute damage menace. Everyone is playing at a knife's edge. All it takes is one bad engagement from either team to lose this game.
It is tense. My heart rate is up. I'm sweating over here, Manatee. The boys are playing out of their minds staying in this game. It's like one team finds the pick, then the other team finds the pick, and it's just a bloodbath on the Rift.
Yeah, I mean, you barely have time to just catch up on what's happening. I mean, 60 kill games so far, just absolute bloodbath. And honestly, on the side of Neogen, we see a couple, Iron Metal failures, I guess. Once again, with just the death count, Cuddle and Vuso joining the club. But man, this Varus, Poppy, I'm telling you, this Varus has been choking under this late game pressure.
Yeah, he is single-handedly throwing the game for Syndicate. If he was playing his range to any success, this would be such a hard game for Neogen. But now you are seeing a fight taking place in the top lane here. Batman does a lot of damage, and I swear Cuddle still cannot handle him. But now he's getting ganked by the Rel, trying to find... That was a nice sidestep from Cuddlebutton to not allow that Rel. On the same end, though, look, this is a lot of pressure being taken towards the top side, and Neo is answering back with a bottom inhib. Nice push on that Baron. Cuddle finding a lot of pressure and attention.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why Harrell is up there trying to, force the Trundle to not be there. Really strange decision making. As we see, potential huge engage from the Rel.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like it's going to work out for here. Fuso does find the kill onto that Rel. Cuddle trying to go deep under the tower. I don't know if that's going to be the move here. Gwen wants to find the cuts, but is not able to. Band with a nice knockback. Now Neogen is trying to kite back out of this. I think they can just regroup here. If they regroup, they'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, the Rel engage looked kind of okay. Lots of flashes blown from the side of Neogen. Packy Sax, I think the only one really blowing his flash there. Maybe Alistar as well, but the Oriana there not being there to follow up with her ult, and just really this disjointed stuff from the side of Syndicate so far. It looks like everyone from Syndicate is feeling the pressure of this late game scenario.
Yeah, and right now, with this bot lane being cracked open, Cuddle only has to TP down there to find the angle he needs to potentially get a backdoor if Syndicate pulls too far out into their own jungle or the next objective that spawns. So this is a really good spot now for Neogen to play the map. They're going to play this mid to top side, let that bot lane naturally push in, and then utilize the teleport to find a backdoor.
For sure, the whole breaker at this point in the game with Baron minions, the Baron is up for Neogen, but it's definitely something that you cannot play around with.
There's still some good damage coming out. Uh-oh, Vuso gets caught by the shockwave, and that's an immediate kill over to the side of Syndicate. They find the pick that they're looking for, and the rest of Neo is scrambling to get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, Vuso's just blown up through the Seraph shield. That is the damage of Orianna with, Death Cap, with Void Staff, with the tier 3 boots upgraded. That's a lot of damage. And Dragon potentially being up with Vuso being dead. He does have TP, but he's going to be pretty pressed to find a good TP spot.
And there's Cuddle again in the mid lane, trying to pull down to try to help the team out. But why is he not just in this top lane fighting? You saw 4 of them were in the mid lane chasing him down. I think he should have just been up there trying to hold these waves. Now Cuddle running straight to the dragon. He wants to try to help the team secure this soul. I understand the play, but you have so much pressure with an open inhib bottom. You need to be putting pressure on the other side of the map. But Prophet has went in. He tries to find a Cataclysm onto the Orianna, who does flash out of it. And now the Gwen is on the charge. She does find a kill onto Prophet. This could spell disaster for Neogen. Fuso coming in on the TP. Gigantic shockwave. It puts the MF down. But Fuso does a lot of damage, and Cuddlebun does too. They just absolutely out DPS the side of Syndicate there. I was a bit worried for a second, Mana.
Yeah, that looked really, really bad for Neogen. But then Vuso with the clutch seismic shove gets the Vars, and I think the Gwen was in that too, and just deletes the damage out of Syndicate. And that's Dragon Soul picked up for the side of Neogen.
That is really, really big for Neo there. A nice Dragon Soul coming over is something that they are going to be really happy about. And now Baron, 30 seconds away. This is going to be the time that Neo needs to get on the map, get these waves pushed out, and find that control. Vuso is going to find a tier 2 mid tower here. Really nice pickup as well. And don't keep your eyes on that bot lane. Super minion waves are still pushing, and Cuddle has that TP.
Yeah, especially once again, we have the Dragon Soul, Cloud Dragon Soul, makes split pushing even more obnoxious to deal with. It helps that Neogen has 3 Wind Souls as well, or I should say Wind Dragon. So their move speed is insane. Trundle move speed is going to be insane with Triforce and Hullbreaker. So there's really no need for Cuddle to be grouping in these fights. He could just absolutely just end the game whenever he wants at this point.
Can we talk about that last item choice for Cuddle? Look at what I'm seeing right there, man. Are you seeing what I'm seeing?
Redemption picked up. It's a pretty cheap item. Works with Trundle W. Can potentially turn the tide of a fight if you're on the side of Neogen. But that's not kind of what you want to see on a Trundle,
Yeah, an interesting one.
Getting caught, maybe. Nope.
Fly Drag keeps them safe there. They aren't able to find the pick yet, and now they're going to have to respond to this Trundle, who's trying to bring in a minion wave with those supers down in the bot side. It looks like multiple are going to be back in here for this, but they are able to find a couple of stops on the backs. This is a nice spot for Neogen now to regain control of this Baron pit.
Yeah, and we see, Syndicate trying to respond to this Trundle, sending Orianna down here.
Uh-oh.
And I don't think anything's going to come out of it. Trundle might fall here, maybe. Okay.
That's not good, though, with the Trundle going down on the side. They're big engage from Rel, but they don't have the damage. It does look like Gwen ends up just getting absolutely nuked by the side of Neogen. And now Neo's going to just look to try to clean this one up. Batman, he's going to try to get away, but I don't see him having one of those little bat slingshots to pull himself up the building and get out of this one. And yeah, he's going to fall. Paxax with a double kill. Really nice spot for Neogen now. And they're going to be looking to push this one right down the mid lane. Find that tower, probably transition right to bot lane, and open that inhib as well.
Yeah, I mentioned before this game started that, in a 5v5 competitive setting, you're not supposed to be playing any sort of hero plays, work with your team, coordinate with your team. I don't know what Syndicate's doing, sending the Gwen, Rel to like on a solo mission to steal the Baron, and
Oh,
that's just
huge knockback from Vuso right into the bullet time by Paxax, and Neogen is gonna put the nail in the coffin in Syndicate in this game one. Let's go, Neogen.
yeah. I mean, really great stuff from Neogen. All like really scrappy. The Trundle not as effective as I thought it was going to be. Really disappointing stuff. But overall, really great game from Packy Sacks and Vuso. Lots of mistakes on the side of Vuso, but at the end of the day, it's not the next fight that matters. It's just the fight that happens that wins the game, right? So, on the side of Neogen, they did a really great job finishing that one out.
That's right. Neogen goes up 1-0 in the series so far, but we'll be right back after a quick break when Game Two's draft gets underway. Don't go anywhere.
What if I told you that you were interacting with a superhero every day you get into a vehicle? No, it's no unassuming newsboy who's actually a superhuman with mythical powers. It's the seatbelt. Seatbelts protect you in collisions. And if you happen to get pulled over for not wearing one, don't try to blame them for being a villain. You only have yourself to blame. And zap, just like that, you lost $50. This message brought to you by the Louisiana Highway Safety Commission.
When the lows of bipolar depression feel dark, Caplyta is a chance to let in the light. Caplyta lumateperone is available by prescription only and can be taken alone or with lithium or valproate. Unlike some medicines that only treat bipolar 1, Caplyta is proven to deliver significant symptom relief from both bipolar 1 and 2 depression. And in clinical trials, movement disorders and weight gain were not common.
Caplyta can cause serious side effects. Call your doctor about sudden mood changes, behaviors, or suicidal thoughts right away. Antidepressants may increase these risks in young adults. Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Caplyta is not approved for dementia-related psychosis or for people under 18. Report fever, stiff muscles, or confusion, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrollable muscle movements, which may be permanent. High cholesterol and weight gain may occur, as can high blood sugar, which may be fatal. Monitoring is recommended. These aren't all the serious side effects. Most common side effects include sleepiness, dizziness, nausea, and dry mouth.
Ask your doctor about Caplyta. Visit caplyta.com or call 888-252-4824.
All right. Hello and welcome back, everybody, from that brief intermission there. I hope everyone's had a chance to cool down after that game one because it was hot, hot, hot. That was a banger of a match. Absolutely fire. I mean, Mana, what do you think about game one there?
Really crazy stuff from both sides. I don't want to say it was well played from either side. It was definitely Neogen did their job and did their due diligence to like close out the game, but there was a lot of mistakes on both sides. Neogen did play the cleaner game, and that's what led to their victory. Um, but let's talk a little bit about what went wrong for Syndicate. Um, I mean, first of all, the Varus, right? That Varus was getting caught in some of the worst places ever. It was kind of ridiculous. And for the people at home who can't really see the damage charts, Packy Sacks ended up doing around 70k damage rounded up, and the Vars ended up doing like 49k. So a huge damage disparity between the 80 carries, and really strange to see on the lethality poke Varus. The way you play that is that you control vision around an objective, and then as your enemies are walking in, you poke him down slowly. We did not see that from the side of Syndicate. You do not play lethality Varus and then play this all-in playstyle, right? So like really bad synergy from the bot lane. And if they wanted to play more of the all in playstyle, they should have went with on hit Varus, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you. They definitely left a little to be I don't know, decided there on the side of Syndicate. They chose the poke. They chose to go for that lethality build, but a lot of missed arrows, a lot of missed chains of corruption coming out. It was looking a little rough. Syndicate's AD. We're gonna have to see if in this game too they're gonna be able to get it together and figure this one out because if he has a performance like that again, I think Paxax is warmed up. He's ready at this point, and he's going to punish him. So we'll have to wait and see what ends up happening in this game too. But I mean, what a banger for game one! Neogen takes the first game up 1-0 in this series. Can they put the nail in the coffin of this series, game two? What are your predictions here, Mana?
I think they will. After seeing the play style of Syndicate, it's really sloppy. Now, Neogen, they kind of failed in their whole game plan and execution of playing around the Trundle, right? If we're picking Trundle into Cassante, we need to make sure that Cassante or Trundle can absolutely 1v1 the Cassante at all stages in the game. Once Cuddlebun got behind, it was not looking good and just made the whole game really hard. Cuddlebun just grouping unnecessarily, you know, just not so effective as you want him to be on that Trundle, right? Um and Vuso throughout the game as well, getting caught out a few times. Almost 100 to 0 by that Oriana ult, potentially, almost losing the team fight and the Dragon Soul, but he was able to clutch it up in that TP play. But anything happens in these sort of like nice edge games, right? So those sort of mistakes you can't be making.
Yeah, I agree. Vuso definitely had a couple of missteps throughout the game, but he also did come out really, really big a couple of times. Played his played his mechanics so well on that Talia. Found a lot of pushbacks, found a lot of good stuns with the Unraveled Earth, and really made it hard for the side of Syndicate to find an angle to really get in. So even though he had some mistakes, I still got to give it to him. He did pull it out when it mattered most, but look here, Mana. It does look like draft is beginning for game two here in this series. It looks like on the side of Neogen, who are now on the blue side here, they've taken Lucian and Echo off the map, and Syndicate takes the Ziggs and the Vi again, it looks like.
Yeah, maybe a repeat of the first game's bans. We do this is fearless, so we no longer have the Varus nor the Misfortune. So the ADC pool is slowly getting dwindled. Senna has not been picked, so if Senna gets banned here, that's a potential pickup from the side of Neogen. They are first pick this time. Um, I mean, it's kind of hard to say what Neogen is going to prioritize in this first pick sort of priority. Neogen, I don't have a good grasp on what their play style is. They constantly swap back and forth between all in, team fighting versus split pushing. Um, you know, potentially a strength of theirs is just that, they are so well versed in both styles. But maybe a weakness of theirs as well is that they haven't perfected either style.
Yeah, it's something that we've been talking about and watching over the course of these weeks, even the end of their Blue Otter run, finding an identity, right? And a team has to have kind of a bread and butter comp that they can go to or play style that's comfortable for them. And I think Neogen has found success on strong early game, all in engaged champions. That's where I find they thrive the best. Big team fight, all in your face, just pile in on them and having some early dominance in the jungle. And speaking of the jungle, it does look like we're going to see Prophet on his fabled Amumu. Prophet has shown out like crazy on this pick. And he should be a really happy mummy, not a sad one, because he has some of the best ultimates, some of the best bandage tosses I have seen in recent league history on the Amumu. Prophet absolutely fire on this champ.
Yeah, really interesting to see that being picked up first pick from the side of Neogen though. Senna is left open. Don't think it's gonna get taken away from Syndicate. Now, as much as I do love, Amumu is really easy to punish, right? A good jungler on the side of Syndicate should really abuse the Amumu early game, should pick up a early game jungler and really make this Amumu's life living hell. But if the Mumu can get past, the first few levels and the first few rough stages of the game, then he can absolutely start tearing up and profit, as you said. Really great Amumu player, has really great ultis, great bandage tosses, and overall a great, carry threat when it comes to Amumu. And
Yeah, and
so
you see.
far,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, so far, not a lot of priority picks coming out the side of Syndicate either.
Yeah, the Ambessa Tristana answers over here. The Ambessa most likely going to the top side, and the Tristana, I guess you could see it flexed between mid or bottom here. Not exactly sure where that one will end up going. It seems like some comfort picks coming out for Syndicate here more than prio meta champs.
Yeah, Mbessa really fallen out of the meta as of late, especially in pro. I think she's also kind of like this fake champion. So we're gonna have to see how Syndicate pilots Mbessa. Tristana, we don't see too much of her in pro player, I don't think. But potentially in the right hands, Tristana can still definitely be that carry threat that you need her to be.
Yeah, the Tristanas, you see them a lot more later into the fearless picks in pro play. They end up coming out around normally game 3 or 4 as a AD mid threat more than anything. So we'll have to see where Syndicate does end up piloting. But here's something a little bit new. Cuddle's been practicing this one. We're seeing the Shen in the top lane.
I mean, what better champion for a cuddle than Shen? This guy wants to split push, and hey, if the team fight's looking bad, then you can TP on somebody and give him a massive shield. So I think that's the perfect cuddle champion. Surprises me that he hasn't actually played him up until now. And we see the Dr. Mundo push, push, push. We'll see if Neogen has a good answer for Dr. Mundo this game.
Yeah, is there going to be some Aloys tech coming out here? The Dr. Mundo getting all that health and just absolutely one-shotting characters with the Titanic and that Heart Steel. I guess we'll have to see what happens here. I'm thinking though that's going to be a Jungle Mundo.
Yeah, Jungle Mundo, surprisingly underrated. Had really fast clear times and not as easy to punish as you would think. And with someone like a weak jungler like a Mumu, definitely could power farm, get to his late game spikes, and then out of nowhere you have this 9,000 health Mundo one shotting carries.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting to see. Second round of bans coming out here. Syndicate takes the Braum away from Neogen. They don't want any more safety in that bot lane. And Neogen looks like they're going to be answering with some targeted mid lane picks here, taking Twisted Fate off the board.
Joseph Fate is an interesting one. Not sure if that's worth the ban, but hey, maybe the mid laner is cracked. That Twist of Fate. That would have been the gem to see. Come on, Neogen. Let the Twist of Fate through next time, please. He's a bad champion.
Yeah, no one ever plays the TF anymore. Just one of those facilitator mid lanes that, unfortunately, there's a lot of characters that do his job better. So it's definitely not the most meta pick, but who knows? This guy could be the TF god that we've been waiting for.
For sure, that would have been a treat to see Dopa 2.0 in America. But we won't be seeing that anytime soon. Tom Kinch banned away, so a lot of respect towards band director. I would say a pretty driving force as to their victory for Neogen. Played pretty solidly, aside from getting caught a few times. But the times where he did get caught and didn't instantly blow up, bought enough time for Neogen to absolutely start, coming back into the game.
Yeah, but I think honestly it goes without saying that everybody got caught on both sides all game long. I mean, there was picks and bloodshed all over the map
Yep.
last game. So
Yep.
it's yeah, definitely putting a little bit of extra respect for band Mr. Clean himself. Definitely interesting to see what his champ pool is going to be looking like now that it's been shaved down quite a bit.
Yeah, we're going to see potentially a banned enchanter game, which I don't think we see too often. I'm not too sure how many times I've seen ban on enchanters, but we see Renata being picked up on the side of Syndicate. Um, but we'll see have to see what Neogen has to answer for their bot lane. Sivir and Tristana. If that's a Tristana ADC, I don't think Sivir will struggle too much, especially paired up with a good enchanter like Lulu. But we'll have to see.
Yeah, and what is Neo going to pull out? It's going to be a Soraka coming out for band here. Heels and heels on wheels. The mobile ambulance unit Soraka makes its appearance here in this game too. Neogen really has a lot of sustain here. It's going to be hard to blow through a Soraka just healing up the whole team.
Yeah, I think a good answer into the Renata. Soraka really makes Renata's life living hell, and a good answer into the Mundo. I feel like as well, because if Mundo does not one shot your carry straight up, well then Soraka's just going to heal him, and then Mundo just kind of sits there.
And here's another pick. This is a bit more of another old school classic from Vuso coming out. He loves those control mages, and Victor, he is no slacker on. This is going to be a really nice pickup for Neogen.
Yeah, Victor is a pretty good champion. Not sure if it's the strongest pick he could do into Mundo and Bessa. Oh boy, that's a Aurelian Soul. Now, Poppy, I've seen some Aurelian Soul jungles. so,
Oh,
so I'm not sure if we're gonna see any of that, but picking Aurelian Soul into Victor, you have to have some cojones for that. That is a rough matchup for Aurelian Soul.
is Aurelian Soul Jungle more troll than an Ivern with Lichbane mana?
I am going to still give it to the Ivern. That Ivern with Lich
Ooh.
Bane. You know, I really respect a Soul Jungles. There's very few
Hmm.
out there, but they do magic. I don't know what they do, but they do magic.
Well, we're going to have to wait and see if that is going to be where this A Soul lands. Just looking at both of these team comps right now, Mana, who are you preferring in this game too?
I'm probably going to give it to Neogen. I think they're super well rounded. Um, really, their game plan should be not to let the Mundo like get absurdly overpowered. But if they're able to do that, then I think that the game's in good hands. Now, it is a Mundo jungle. So hands are a little bit tied when it comes to that because they picked a Mumu and a Mumu cannot really answer the Mundo. If it is a Mundo jungle, that is, of course. Um, but overall, I still prefer Neogen's comp. They're really well rounded. They have the late game threat with the Victor. They have the engage with the Mumu Shen, and they had the peeling with Shen Soraka as well. And then you have the overall AoE damage with Sivir Victor. So overall, really great stuff from Neogen. On the side of Syndicate, their team comp is no slouch either, but it requires a lot more execution, right?
Mhm.
Aurelion Soul cannot get behind in any sort of fashion. Dying once or twice in the early game pretty much means GG for Aurelion Soul. Um, Dr. Mundo requires to scale. And Bessa, yeah, it could be an early game threat, but like against these champions, she's not going to do much. And we all know Tristana Renata. Yeah, Tristana can be a late game threat, but in terms of raw damage, it's not as much as like maybe a Vayne or a Kaisa.
Yeah, one thing I'm noticing too on the side of Syndicate here, and I think this was Not as prevalent game 1. I think the what you said about being harder to pilot is the same as it was game 1. They had a bit harder of a comp to pull off than Neogen did, but something here in game 2 that not only is their comp a bit harder to pull off, but they're lacking a lot of lockdown. Renata is the primary force of CC on the side of Syndicate, and it's not necessarily the most guaranteed, right? Especially when you have champs like the Sivir and Soraka silences, it could really disrupt and make Renata's job pretty hard here. She works primarily more as like a peel character and not an engage. So what's the lockdown really coming from? Ambessa's public execution? I just don't know how easy it's going to be for them to find the lockdown they need to kill Neogen.
Yeah, Syndicate is really putting all their cards into this window to be this tanky, unkillable beast. Because what Syndicate does have is a significant range advantage over Neogen. Earlier in the game, Victor does outrange Aurelion Soul, but much later in the game, Aurelion Soul's E will just cover the whole river and make it really hard for Mumu, Shen, Sivir, Soraka to really like touch anything, right? Really, the only answer Neogen has in terms of range is Victor, but even him can be a little bit short range, and you definitely don't want your Victor to be walking up into a potentially fed Mundo. So Syndicate really needs to play their cards right when it comes to this Mundo pick. If they could get this Mundo to scale, get this Mundo to really pop off, then we'll see some really nasty things coming out from him.
Yeah, I agree with you. And we got just a couple more minutes of this delay before we do get into game here. And I'd like to just make a quick thank you announcement to everybody that is in the chat here from Neogen. We are just so thrilled that we've been able to keep this going and see all the support and love coming out from everybody. It's amazing looking at the chat, seeing all the hype, seeing everybody here supporting the boys and everybody behind the scenes. We couldn't be much happier. And over here at Neogen, if you've been here since the beginning or you're new around these parts, just take a look, scroll down on your Twitch here. Look and see what we got below. We've got a lot of new revamped links here with some really beautiful emojis done by TJ Studio, by the way. You can see that in our art section. But we got some great links here, guys. Check out our socials, learn a little more about us, get in our Discord. We're in there playing games and having a good old time all the time. And also, Manatee, I don't know if you knew, but we got merch.
We got what?
Merch.
Merch? Oh yeah, definitely.
Merch.
We definitely have some really cool swag to pick up. You got the hoodies, you got the caps, I think. Maybe we'll get the Iron Medal of Honor, or I should say the Iron Medal of Failure as a collectible pin. Who knows, Poppy? That may just happen.
Or maybe a full-on chain. You'll see me on screen here soon with the cam rocking that medal of failure around my neck. I need it 50 pounds solid gold, baby. That's what we need on the merch stand. But in all seriousness, guys, check out the merch. It is awesome. I mean, Neogen is looking good on these sweatshirts and on these hats. Get you a mouse pad. We even got stickers now, man. Put it on your lunchbox. I don't have one, but maybe I need to get one just for that, scenario.
Yeah, and if your coworkers ask you what the heck is Neogen, just tell them it's the next up and coming best thing. It's better than anything you could do in the world, and tell them to drop a follow. It will change their life.
That's when you spit your hot coffee right on them after they said, and you go, "You don't know what Neogen is?" And then you got to give them the whole spiel. And after that, they're going to be like, "Wow, I need to get in on this. This sounds like a really, really good time." So yeah, again, just everybody here at Neogen, from the casters to the production and the players and everybody in this org, thank you guys so much for joining. And we just got a couple more moments here, Manatee, a couple more moments before game 2 kicks right off.
And I'm really looking forward to it. Once again, should be really exciting. Really, oh man, we see a Mbessa jungle. Holy, um, that was not in the playbook, Poppy. I don't think I've ever seen an Mbessa jungle. Um, this is gonna be a weird one.
Yeah, I looked at that and my eyes rolled back into my head. I didn't know what happened for a second. I wasn't ready to see an Mbessa jungle. That was definitely not in the cards. I mean, interesting pick. Interesting pick. They really are expecting this chill savior to just come out big as like maybe this full lethality damage Ambessa who's going to just one shot the team from the jungle. But I don't know. I don't know. I really feel like the jungle Mundo was the play.
30 seconds until minions
I
spawn.
absolutely agree. I think the Jungle Mundo just makes sense scaling wise, and the Mundo being a large part of this team as we see Cuddle taking those chairs. He's using chairs. Those are some really sharp chairs, Poppy.
Yeah, he's a luchador, and he is going to throw those things down on the Cuddle, and they've got to hurt a good bit here. And you're seeing early aggression here coming out from this side of Syndicate, trying to find some poke, trying to find some vision. They don't want to give them an inch of their own jungle.
Yeah, this is kind of like the thing we talked about with Mumu, kind of being on the weaker side early on. So Prophet gets his blue invaded. That's not going to be a good look for him. Definitely want that as a Mumu jungle.
Yeah, a lot of trading already going down. These guys are playing pretty aggressive right off the bat here. I think we're definitely going to see another pretty bloody game. They want to trade. They don't mind using that health pool, and I think we're in for a fun one.
Yep, if your team name is Syndicate, the health pool is a resource, Poppy. So they're definitely going to use it to their fullest potential. As, just a caveat about Aurelion Soul for those who may be a little bit unaware. Laning against a Soul who starts Q is got to be one of the most annoying things in League of Legends, right? They recently did nerf it to where, you can't just spam Q, like press Q and then stop it. They did nerf it, they did tone it down a bit, but it's still very viable to do on a Soul. And, we see Vusos just taking really small chunks of, burst damage from that tap Q. It's really annoying to deal with.
Yeah, definitely not going to do a ton of damage early on, but as he ramps up, that Q will start to chunk. And you see it there. I mean, he's getting pretty sustained Q damage onto Vuso. Definitely not a fun thing to play against.
Yeah, definitely early on, A Soul's level 1 probably might be one of the strongest in the game just because of how much damage he can really do early on. But afterwards, the matchup should neutralize for Nuso, and this should be pretty easy and pretty winning for him.
Yeah, and I think down here in the bot lane, it's definitely a little scrappy, definitely some health being traded back and forth, but, we've got a Soraka over here on the side of Neogen. She's going to be able to heal up a lot of that damage, and I think once a couple more levels come through for Neogen, they're going to have a much easier time dealing with this bot lane.
Yeah, once again, I mean, Soraka is kind of a scaling champion on her own as well, so the more levels Soraka gets, the easier this laning phase will be. And I really don't think Renata, Tristana early on can really pressure the Soraka as much as they think they are right now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, going all in, Soraka's just going to drop a Q and an E right on top of herself, and that's just going to effectively nullify most of the Tristana's ability. And now you are seeing there might be a little bit of a skirmish that takes place in the bot lane. Both junglers have arrived. Amumu is here, but the Ambessa as well. They're going to be looking for this Renata. Nice bandage toss onto the side of Neogen. Finds a Renata who has instantly flash out there. They're going to be happy with that pickup.
Yeah, I mean, we all know that Renata was kind of baiting a little bit there for her jungler, but going in a little bit too deep, and Prophet just calls the bluff successfully, and Soraka, Band Director going a little bit too far. Ooh, aggressive cleanse coming out. Not going to do anything. But
Yeah, and they trade back a flash, it looks like. Band walks up a little too deep, and he gets punished for it.
oh, that's the flash Q coming out from Ambessa. I mean, I do not expect this Ambessa to be useful any aside from that. But hey, who knows? I mean, this is the first time I've seen Ambessa jungle, Poppy. Have you seen this pick at all?
I have not. This is definitely something that, I saw a little more when Ambessa first came out, but hold that thought. We are seeing a gank taking place here in the mid lane. Prophet misses the second bandage toss, but he does end up finding the damage to kill the Aurelion Soul on the successful gank. But yeah, no, going back to the Ambessa jungle, I mean, it was something a little more niche that I saw in the beginning of her champion release. People were just trying to play it anywhere they could, right? And then it got pretty solidified in the top and sometimes in the mid lane. But who knows? This could be the carry potential character that Syndicate needs.
Yeah, I mean, um, Mbessa jungle, it's just so weird to me. Well, I really am excited to see how this all plays out. But the gank that profited in the mid lane, let's talk about that a little bit. You saw the Aurelion Soul Flash being wasted there. So I'm not sure if this is a novice Aurelion Soul player, but your W, that flight thing that he's doing right there, is a channel. So if you flash while in it, you'll just cancel it. So that's exactly what he did. So kind of just wasted his own flash there.
Unfortunate for Aurelion Soul, but a nice pickup for Neogen. They're going to be happy with shutting him down. But he does have a slight creep lead here, as we do see a little bit of trading go up to the top side. Cuddle does find a pretty good trade onto this Mundo, but Mundo's sitting on that ultimate. He's going to be deceptively tanky.
Yeah, Mundo is really happy with these sort of trades. As a Mundo player, you just outscale, so you're just kind of taking any sort of grass proc that you can, and not really caring about the damage that's inflicted on you for the most part. But you still got to be careful. Like, this Mundo can still absolutely die if he missteps. As even though you're tanky, it's all it's just health, right? Like, it's just health.
Definitely. And we'll see. It looks like Cuddle is able to take control and forces the TP to come back out from that Mundo there. So nice little pickup there to be able to bounce the wave, and Cuddle's going to find a nice reset. But Fuso goes aggressive on the mid side, flashes and dumps his combo onto the Asol, who does fly out. Doesn't quite have the damage at this point to one-shot him like that.
A little bit of a good attempt from Buso, although a little bit scary because the Asol played that just a little bit better. He could have landed the ult on their tower range, but overall, flashes being blown for both mid laners is kind of to be expected at this point, I guess.
All right, I have a criticism that we had talked about before that I want to see if you think, being the mid lane prowess you have, Uso started this tier. Do you think if he had had a Doran's ring, he would have killed the Victor there?
Absolutely. A Doran's ring. Heck, I will even vouch for Doran's ring, Darkseal, and maybe Amtome. That would have been absolutely enough to just kill the Asol there.
Yeah, it's something that we talked about in some of our previous streams, and it's something Muffins and I have really, kind of delved in on, is we've noticed sometimes Neogen's laners, especially their solo lane, will start, well, let me hold that here. It does look like we have a bit of an engage taking place. Prophet finds a flash bandage toss onto the Mbessa, who is going to end up falling here to Vuso, picks up the kill credit on that one. A little overzealous from that Mbessa in the mid lane.
Mbessa slowly walked up, hit Vuso, and then died. So I think that's the full extent of her usefulness there.
Look at the bot lane. Paxax and Band are trying to find the kills onto this Tristana, who's trying to run away. Paxax, just barely misses. Oh, the Q just almost landed onto that Tristana, but she lives with a sliver of health.
Yeah, and honestly, just really, really scrappy stuff so far. I think both Neogen and Syndicate are doing some weird stuff. Prophet, probably the only consistent player so far. This is not going to end as Aurelion Soul thinks it is. Yeah.
He got a little aggressive on that one. He does not have the damage yet to be able to do something like that, or the health to sustain the Victor DPS. That was a little ballsy.
Yeah, I was kind of like wondering why the Asol wasn't all inning the Victor, but it's now I know why. It's because the Vuso still had his ulti, right? You can't really challenge Victor in a 1v1 with his ulti still up. It's just not gonna work out for you. But I mean, so far, pretty good stuff from Vuso. It has a 2-0 lead. Victor is a late game scaling champion. I don't really agree with the Seraphs. I don't think that's going to be very helpful against Mundo. I think like Blackfire Leandries probably would have been the better play here, but hey, if Vuso's ahead, then no items will matter. You're still rich as heck, dude.
Well, this brings back that earlier point that I had started talking about before some action towards the mid lane took place. Vuso is a very big proponent of the tier start and rushing right into the Seraphs. But here we go again. Prophet does find a bandage toss into the mid lane, and that Aurelion Soul is not going anywhere. Vuso on a killing spree now.
Hey, um, once again, to your point, Poppy, we have the tier start, but we don't have a OC. So Rocket actually probably just getting lucky. Even with the Shin off, it's not looking good. But hey, back to the mid lane conversation. Yeah, if you build tier, you absolutely still have to build Dark Seal, right? If Musa had Dark Seal by now, he would have had it at least 6 to 8 stacks by now. Well, maybe just 6. I can't. But okay, actually, maybe it would be 7 with the 1 assist, maybe. But you get my point, right? The Dark Seal is such a cost-efficient item, and Vuso is very effective. And if you're ahead in any sort of gold, you will always be effective. But in League of Legends, there's always a point about being more effective, no matter how good you're doing.
Yeah, it's a game of numbers, right? And if you can abuse those numbers more and more to your advantage, especially in these competitive games where an inch is almost the same as a mile, right? You want to take any lead you can and just further it as far as possible. Building a defensive item like Seraph's right off the rip, while it's working for him, he's 3-0. He could be 5-0 right now. Who knows if he kind of changed up his build path a little bit.
Yeah, and it's not even about the kills. It's just about the amount of pressure you can put. Blackfire Torch allows Victor to just clear waves just as fast as Ace Soul, and Vuso has been with the 3 kills and assists, he already has his upgraded tech spec. Good flash from Vuso, potentially looking real bad for the side of Syndicate, but overall, that's the Mbessa. Despite being 2-1 somehow, she's still this weird thick devil. Absolutely can die. And we see Mundo, he's pushing. Poppy, that's a push, Mundo.
That it is. Cuddle almost able to kill him, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to finish him off, and he's just push.
Yeah, I mean, this is Mundo at his core. And yep, that's a Denver Nada.
It's just a quick little pick, no big deal. We don't even got to worry about casting that one. She went down so fast.
Yeah, no, for sure. But overall, really good stuff from Neogen so far. There are a few asterisks that I want to point out here. This Mundo is getting really, really strong, right? And I fear that both Prophet and Vuso may not be enough to take down this Mundo. Now, Prophet did make the smart decision to go Leandries. Absolutely good play on him. Do not go full tank when you're against a Mundo. But, on the side of Vuso, yes, he's fed. Yes, he has a Seraph. But what is the Seraph really going to do for you in the face of a Mundo? Maybe not much at all. Maybe save your life from, his one-shot combo, but eventually the one-shot combo truly will become the one-shot combo.
You've seen a big engagement take place down here in the bot lane. They do end up jumping and putting everything on a pack tech, but Cuddle has shown up on the TP, finds the taunt onto Tristana. Nice taunt forward, but everyone's flashing forward to try to find the kills now. Cuddle wants to put them in the dirt. He actually finds the Titanic Hydra proc to get the kill, taking up a lot of damage. Big bandits toss from Prophet, and he finds a 2-man Curse of the Sad Mummy, takes them both out.
Yeah, that Titanic Hydra really sniping the members of Syndicate. I was actually baffled with the range of that. But, Poppy, look at the Mundo. He's headbutting your turrets top lane. This is
already on the tier 2. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this Mundo has a about a 40 CS lead on this Shen, and has the Warmogs completed. Now we see Vuso potentially looking to stop this Mundo from doing any more harm, but his efforts may be in vain.
Yeah, this is a problematic Mundo. He's definitely getting pretty accelerated just by finding all these plates and all this farm. But now you're seeing a fight might take place here. Cuddle tries to find the engage on that taunt, but Mundo, CC immune, he's able to just walk right out of that one.
Yeah, and even we see just how strong this Mundo is currently. 1Q just deleted about 400 health from Cuddle. And we see Mundo does not, or does have ult, and that's just a dead Renata.
Yeah, they don't want to fight this one. There's just too much CC on the side of Neogen for them to effectively walk in here. And Mundo, while he's quite strong, he's opted to get that Warmogs first. He doesn't have the damage items yet where he can rampage in the back line of Neogen. Neogen are going to end up picking up Rift Herald off the back of that, and they've got a sizable little lead here. The gold might only be 1K, but I feel like the pressure is pretty large for the side of Neogen making plays around the map.
Yeah, for sure. And this Ace Soul is doing things, but you know, if I'm Neogen right now, I am a little bit worried about the scaling of the Mundo and also the scaling of the Ace Soul combined. The Ace Soul is technically a little bit out the game, but you can't just count him out just because you killed him a couple times. He's Ace Soul, right? He could just, you know, not join any team fights for about 4 or 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden he comes back and there's a giant meteor destroying your team.
Yeah, and we saw game 1 was in the 40-minute range, you know, it was definitely up there in game length, and when you start getting to that point, I mean, everybody's pretty much full build. So it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility that this Aesol is able to just inch his way back if it goes long enough.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if this was just sort of an adaptation coming out from Syndicate. They noticed that the game went long last time, so they probably picked more late game scaling champions to kind of facilitate that.
This Mundo is a problem. This Mundo is a problem, man. I'm just watching. I mean, Cuddle is catching those chairs to the face, and this Mundo takes no damage.
Yeah, and he's doing Mundo things. He's taunting it up there with the ninja up there, and man, this Mundo is pushing. He is pushing Poppy. Now, this is the thing with this strat, right? Popularized by the streamer Eloise, right? You take a bunch of damage, but you walk back, and your Warmog will just heal you back to full health, as we see kind of like what he's doing right now. You know, there's not really a lot that Cuddle can really do here to stop that.
Yeah, and it does look like Neogen decides to pop the Herald. Nice flash there from Oprah. Definitely, she's able to live another day, but Herald does take the tower on that one. Buso has to flash out from the public execution on the bot side to not get picked by this Mbessa, who she's not done yet. She's still going aggressive on Buso, but this might be her demise. The cavalry is here, and Prophet is leading the charge. He misses the bandage toss, but she's just going to end up getting burned down by Buso. They find the kill onto this Mbessa, and Buso goes unstoppable.
Yeah, I mean, I will never stop laughing at this Mbessa. Usually she just goes in and then she dies. If that's the game plan from Syndicate for this Mbessa, then so be it.
Interesting choice here. It definitely went trying to get in that damage, right? I suspected as much that this was going to be a full nuclear face-off Mbessa jungle. Starts with that, oh my lord, I cannot remember. What's the name of that item there? The blade.
Clifto Sword?
Something like that.
Yeah, it's like Burrito Sword or something like that. It starts with a C. I know what you're talking about.
Well, that's something that I saw the Baus used to build all the time when he was playing Mbessa, and that thing does some serious damage, but Mbessa's just not the same character that she used to be. Now, you are seeing a pretty big fight here towards the top side. The Renata shows up trying to be able to kill Cuddle, but Cuddle is able to walk away, and Oprah almost took 2 tower shots that killed her.
Yeah, really bad game from Oprah, if I have to say so myself. Getting constantly caught, nearly dying in a lot of the exchanges. The Renata not getting a lot of value. Really weird decision to run Renata Tristana. Usually when you see Renata, it's being paired with things with like Draven, Callista, maybe even Samira or Neela, right? It's really weird to see, Tristana paired up with Renata. It's not the best.
And we've gotten help from the chat here. Hooked on Flays, thank you. It's the Voltaic Cyclosword. That's a mouthful. Voltaic Cyclosword for the Mbessa. Going for that full Nukem build. Well, I guess it's kind of working for her. She is 3-3. She's found a couple kills, but not to the effect she'd probably like. Now, it looks like Prophet is up here in the top side. Batman is going to try to just run this one out. But Prophet with that Leandries is actually burning him down big time. Batman trying to run and get away. Throws a couple chairs back, and he is putting some distance between them. Prophet wants to find him on the bandage toss, but he goes CC immune. Batman, he gets stunned up by Cuddle's flash taunt. Beautiful use there, and now Cuddle's not finished. He's trying to save Band, who's in trouble, but he does find the teleport in with the shield, and he dissuades any further aggression from the side of Syndicate. Nice plays by Neogen.
Ooh, and that's a flash coming out from Prophet. That's probably a dead Renato. Once again, lose a TP to help facilitate that kill. But really well played on the side of Neogen. They are going to lose Otacon for this because, once again, Ace Soul is sort of this, like, damage threat you just can't ignore. But, yeah, Mundo getting a little bit cocky and should have popped his ghost way earlier and just ran away, but thought he could hold on to his ghost, thought he could just survive a little bit longer, but Prophet has Leandries, and a move with Leandries does a lot of % health damage.
Yeah, and that's a tier 2 mid lane going down. Neogen is really happy with the state of this game right now. They're up about 2k, and then they've also got, you know, 2 of the dragons. They got the grubs. They had the herald. I mean, Neogen is sitting pretty.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to take forever for this Ace Soul to really be any sort of useful for the side of Syndicate. So if I'm Neogen right now, I'm really putting the pressure on. You know, I'm not allowing this Mundo to do whatever he wants, right? This Mundo is their only win con. And, you know, if we don't deal with this Mundo and, you know, or you don't have to deal with the Mundo directly, right? You can pressure the rest of the team. For example, pressure the Ace Soul, make sure he's not getting free stacks. And, you know, you win that way. But you just have to find some sort of opening and punish this Mundo any way you can.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And it looked like there might have been almost a fight here breaking down the mid lane, but Prophet shows up and dissuades again further aggression. But look at this. Batman, he's just going to go ahead and take the tower. Push, push, push.
Yeah, that is 700 gold into the pockets of Mundo. Not sure what his third item is going to be. I'm not sure what the third item is for Mundo with this type of build. But Heartsteel, Warmogs, you know, he's slowly making his way towards the Nexus. And, you know, on the flip side of things, Neogen, they do have the gold lead. They do have good objective control right now. If they can just stall out this game and hopefully, you know, win the 5v5 team fight, this game should be over for them. Or
Yeah,
for
but Cuddle
Syndicate, I should say.
taking some damage here. I mean, Cuddle's got to be careful. He really has to just try to catch these waves just in front of the tower because otherwise, Batman is just putting hurt on him.
Yeah, I mean, you really don't want to be giving this Mundo free Heartsteel stacks, and he has 116 right now, but as soon as he starts getting their 300, 500, you know, I hope Soraka can heal one shot.
Yeah, I mean, and normally you're saying, what's that third item? It's a lot of the time Titanic Hydra that comes out for this push build, and he can literally just walk right up and just insta-kill your AD carry when he has those 4 items completed.
You see Several being used sort of a tempo play here. Ace Soul is just going to go down here.
Yeah, not much to say. Ace Soul just dies again. 4 deaths over for Ace Soul. A nice heads-up play for Neogen to run him down in the bot side, and they're going to look to try to transition this one and take this drag.
Yeah, you know, this is kind of what I was talking about with, you know, punishing the Ace Soul. If you can't punish the Mundo, try to punish anywhere else on the map. But Mundo is still Mundo, and he is pushing.
Yeah,
Cuddle potentially caught out here, though.
Yep, Cuddle's going to get caught. They're just full committing onto this push in the mid lane here, and now they're going to back off after Neogen gets that dragon. But Cuddle not able to hold the tower with the rest of Syndicate coming in tow.
Yeah, I guess he thought Syndicate was nowhere to be found, but died defending a dead tower. Now Mundo is probably going to make his way down bot lane and secure himself another hefty gold lead. Now, we see Spirit Visage coming out on the side of Mundo. Pretty big pickup. Oh no.
It wouldn't be a game of League if there wasn't a pause, everybody. I mean, this is normal here, but it looks like it might have already been lifted potentially. Just
Looks like that was like one of those insta pause, unpause moments. It's just a spectator bug right now that's happening. Usually when the game is paused, it takes a little bit for it to come back. But let's look at the state of the game, Poppy. 13 kills over the Neogen, but even with 13 kills, right? Why is the gold graphs so even still, right? It is this Mundo.
Push.
Yes, this Mundo, not the corporate Mundo, so he's not, you know, filing taxes or anything, but the Luchador Mundo might be even more disgusting, right? He's probably going to get to the point where he can just super slam your AD carry or your Victor. Mundo is what, like 500 pounds of muscle, and Victor is like maybe just a twig. Who do you put your money on?
I'm gonna have to go with the Luchador on that one. I think he's gonna do insane damage. If he does get this Titanic Hydra, I think it's gonna be absolutely terrifying. I mean, he's got a 60 creep lead effectively on Cuddle right now. That is scary. 255 farm at 25 minutes. The guy's almost perfect.
Yeah, this guy is getting scarier and scarier. And to Syndicate's credit, Batman was part of the reason why Game 1 was so close. Batman found the opportunities with the Cassante and found a lot of picks with him, and he's making this game really hard for Neogen at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, the pressure he's putting on the map is intense, and Cuddle cannot handle this Mundo. Cuddle has to transfer like half of his health just to try to hold the wave, and it still isn't enough. Now look, Batman back to full health. Big smack with the grasp, and he's just going to find more damage and probably going to take this tower right here.
That tower is gone, and Cuddle is just in between this giant Mundo. And what is Neogen doing in response? This is a Baron response, and Batman is going to come respond. Prophet's already kind of low, hit with a Renata. This could spell disaster for Neogen. Prophet going down. Where's the A Soul at? There's the giant nuke coming down. It's still looking good for Neogen. 4v3 right now. Tristana jumps into her death. That's a dead Tristana. It is not looking good for the side of Syndicate.
I think there's going to need to be an investigation done onto the AD carry on the side of Syndicate. He has been doing some very questionable plays, but God almighty, look at this. This Mundo takes no damage. He's just going to end up walking out. And again, thank gosh he doesn't have that Titanic Hydra yet, or else he could do the damage to kill the AD carry. But now that Paxax is getting in him, he's able to just cut him down. He's got enough damage with that Yuntal and Infinity Edge, and no resistances on the side of Mundo, so they are able to end up chopping him down. But man, I gotta go back. I gotta say, this Tristana, this AD carry on the side of Syndicate, I mean, he's been doing some pretty questionable plays both games now. He might be a double agent.
Yeah, we got to check the Discord server. Guys, we need your help. Join the Discord server. Help us see if this Tristana is in the Discord server, because this guy is jumping in. Honestly, Poppy, that fight looked pretty disastrous for Neogen. And I thought it was going to go the way of Syndicate, but that play from the AD carry, just jumping into the Victor stun. What are you thinking? Like, it is absolutely, like, just disasters. It's baffling.
Yeah, I'm just not sure what's going through the mind of Tristana in this game. I really want to, think he's probably just like the biggest Neogen fan there is. He's probably got merch already. He's been donating. He's a sub. He's gifted extra subs. He's probably boosting our Discord server. And thank you, Idris. You are awesome, man, and we really appreciate all your support here at Neogen.
Yeah, we see a little bit of action for this potential Cloud Soul, well, not Cloud Soul, Soul take. Prophet with a huge Amumu might go down here, though. Yeah, he is going to go down. Mundo still starting the split pushing. So all Syndicate has to do here is stop the backs, right? Mundo is knocking on the door of Neogen. And, what does Syndicate have to do? Just stop the backs. But they're failing to do so. Soraka and Sivir have backed already. But this could be a pretty easy dragon take for the side of Syndicate.
Yeah, I mean, that Mundo, you just cannot leave him alone in the side lane. Neo goes for a pretty aggressive play under that tier 1 tower in the bot lane, but they do end up losing, and their base is cracked open.
And
now look
Mundo
who's
is
here.
here.
He is shown up to the fight, and he wants more. He is charging forward, trying to find Buso. Now Cuttlebun caught all on his lonesome, trying to get away, but he is going to surely fall to the side of Syndicate. Vuso is just doing anything he can to get away, finally has to use the flash to get to safety.
Dude, Fabi, we saw what this Mundo can do. And we asked the question earlier, right, Poppy? Who would win? A stick or a giant Hulk hunk of, like, meat? It is the hunk of meat. Nearly one-shotting Vuso. Didn't pop his Seraphs, but got him to, like, half health. And that's only going to get worse. This guy is going to get Titanic Hydra. This guy's going to get that Omen item. the one shots are going to be real.
Uh-oh, Paxax might find himself in some trouble here, too. He decides to go aggressive and just try to turn this fight onto the Aurelian Soul. Will he find the damage? And it looks like he is going to find enough damage to kill him right after that bailout comes through. Paxax finds one on the pick.
I can't help but laugh at this Ace Soul gameplay. I mean, he canceled his flight and his Q, so his Q goes on cooldown. He's just auto-attacking the Sivir while his Q's on cooldown. Not how you play Ace Soul, by the way, but cost him his life, so good job on Paxax on that. But yeah, this Ace Soul is leaving a lot to be desired.
But he's also going to be leaving with something else, a medal. He has reached the Medal of Failure first in this game. Congratulations, Tango. You are going to be taking something shiny home after this one.
Oh, is it shiny? I always thought it was a little bit rusted, maybe worn, passed down. But hey, if it's shiny, that's cool.
It's a selling point, Mana. Don't give away all the secrets. It looks like trash. But, you just don't tell the people that. Come on, it's marketing 101.
Yeah, my bad. I know. I just don't want to get this Ace Soul's hopes up. He's having a rough game. Maybe he was looking forward to something good. But, there's Mundo. 2 deaths, 2 assists, 307 CS, has the Titanic Hydra completed, and being an absolute menace. 395 stacks, I said the breakpoint, Poppy, was around 300 to 500 stacks, but, man, we might actually see 500 stacks from this Mundo.
Yep, and he's finished that Titanic Hydra now as well. He didn't have it in the last engagements. I'm going to be interested to see if this Mundo is able to find access to the backline of Neogen. What kind of damage is he going to be able to put down? Poor Cuddle doing everything he possibly can to just keep this Mundo at bay. But my God, is it difficult. This guy is putting more pressure than I've ever seen a top laner do.
Yeah, I mean, this is pressure 101. It's almost like it's reminding me of a little bit of the Trick 2G era. Open the gates. This Mundo just all about pushing. We see different variations of the strat, just the constant push, and there it is. Just a headbutt into demolish combo. Just disgusting.
What is that damage? But Prophet, good engage in the mid lane here, finds a Curse of the Sad Mummy, but they haven't. Okay, they do find a kill onto the Renata. Now this Investa trying to do what she can, but she gets absolutely nuked by Vuso. That's a pretty good storm right there. It does find 2 kills, and now Neogen is going to have to try to find Baron on the backside of this. It is up for the rest of Neogen now to just push and use Baron and try to find something, but look, it doesn't look like Syndicate's gonna let them do so. The Mundo has decided to teleport to the mid lane to try to find a stop onto this Baron take. This could actually spell disaster. I think it would have been a better play for Mundo to keep pushing, but instead, he's now opted to try to stop Neogen here. Neo working on cutting down this Baron to secure this objective. This is definitely gonna help in the counter push, but Mundo trying to go in. Cuddle and the rest of the team have found their way onto the backline. Prophet trying to lock down this Mundo, but Mundo's just walking it out. Look at that regen coming out from Mundo. It's pretty scary, but it is going to end up being Baron taken over for the side of Neogen. They're going to try to find these resets and get back, because Mundo's just trying to go right back to pushing.
Yeah, if I'm on the side of Syndicate, once again, I'm pinging my Ace Soul. He had TP that entire fight with the big ult. What are you doing? TP with the big ult in the Baron pit, and what can they do? Neogen would be completely helpless and take a lot of damage, potentially maybe even getting wiped. Really questionable play from the Ace Soul, but this Mundo, as you're mentioning, Poppy, just Jesus, he is a homewrecker. He is here to take names.
Yeah, he's really putting in a lot of work, but I agree with you on the Ace Soul, right? He's at a point now in the game where, he's still not doing super well, but he's caught up a lot from where he was previously at. But hold that, we see a flash engage coming up from Prophet. Nice Curse of the Sad Mummy onto the Renata. She does end up falling here, and she's gonna die. Here's that big ult, but it looks like there's no follow-up on that one. Doesn't make any difference at all. Neogen's gonna end up being happy there.
Yeah, and this is going to make the Mundo's life a lot harder. That's to be Soul given over to the side of Neogen. This is Chemtech Soul, so it's going to make Shen that much harder to kill. And even Prophet that much harder to kill. But man, what a really disgusting game from this Ace Soul. And we have another one joining the ranks, Renata, 1-7. Not a great game from the side of Syndicate in terms of their laners. Aside from Batman has been having a great series, but his laners and his AD carry and his bot lane have really been letting him down.
Yeah, maybe we need to honestly get some investigations going against the ASOL as well. I'm calling the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Inters, on this guy. He's coming in here and he's just been throwing this game away with a pretty lackluster ASOL gameplay. I mean, I don't know about you, man. You know, you come into these competitive games and you decide to first time a champion in an important match this is something you do in scrims, man, not in a comp game where these ones really matter for your team's standing.
Yeah, and especially in Ace Soul, he's not really all that meta. I understand what they were going for the late game, but there are so much easier late game picks that you can pilot. We've seen Azir not piloted to the best of the ability, but Azir, just requires you to reach late game and then you start doing a lot of damage, right? Like it's not anything that is so mechanically intensive. Um, but this split push threat coming from Syndicate may not matter. I think they're gonna end up losing the game here.
Yeah, they're going to try to make a base race, but I don't think this is going to be the right move. Syndicate pulled the Ambessa down and tried to kill Cuddle, but they can't even put Cuddle down. Now you have a Baron empowered rest of Neogen. Prophet finds another good bandage toss. Curse of the Sad Mummy locks down two. Big heals coming out from the Soraka. Now the rest of Syndicate are here to try to stop this game from ending. But Paxax is relatively untouched, and he's just going to try to put the game to an end. Cuddle, Paxax and Band find the final kill onto the Nexus, and that is going to be a win for Neogen Esports.
Really good stuff coming from Neogen. Vuso had a really great game, only dying once towards the end, so I'm not even going to count that. But I think I have to give it to Prophet. This game would have been a completely different story if he did not build at Leandri's first. This Mundo was getting to unstoppable levels, but what really stopped him was Prophet's gank up in the top lane that Leandri's really made the difference and ended up really slowing down the Mundo's pace of the game. But yeah, really great stuff from Prophet. He had a great series as well. Um, I think really, if I have to say, he's probably the player of the series. He played pretty solid.
Yeah, Prophet did great. I got to give it to him as well. Amazing gameplay all around and a really nice dominant win coming out for Neogen. The Mundo, while he was strong, wasn't quite enough. But the nice thing is Syndicate can be really happy. Two of their members are going to be taking some medals home. Give it up for the Asol and the Renata in the chat, everybody. Congratulations, guys. Y'all played great. We also have, some investigations happening. If you get swatted, sorry. We got to make sure you guys are playing for your team and not ours. There's some pretty questionable plays going on there. So you'll, get some letters in the mail and a couple subpoenas. No big deal. No big deal, Mana.
Yeah, it's nothing too bad. Sometimes first of all, Neogen really appreciates their support. If you guys haven't already, help us with the investigation, join our Discord. We can really, speed up the investigation with more members in the Discord. But yeah, I mean, really disgusting stuff coming out from the AD carry. We do the best player of the series. Maybe we get a little bit toxic, a little bit, ramble rousing, right? Let's say the worst player of the series has to be the AD carry coming out from Syndicate. I don't know what I was seeing. That was some really bad, bronze level gameplay. I'm gonna go there. It was really disgusting. I want to see better gameplays from Neogen's enemies, but like this was just the AD carry was just trolling. I mean, that paycheck from Neogen must have been fat.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's pretty harsh. You really dug into them there, Mana, and he's gonna be feeling that one. He might cry tonight if he's tuning into the stream, so I do apologize to you. We were predicting a sweep, and it looks like it was a sweep. Great job from Neogen here, taking this game and just absolutely shutting Syndicate down in game two. Game one was so close on a knife's edge. Game two, Neo really put it together and looked awesome. And with that, we want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight, watching Neogen Xenos take on Syndicate 15 in this week 3 in Titan Esports. We will be back Thursday with a scrim match, so get ready for that. Otherwise, have a great night.